Hello, I'm Michael Vandiver from Sedan, New Mexico, and we're here at the XIT Tractor Pull and Show.
Well, it was kind of an exciting deal yesterday.
Oh.
So many different kinds of tractors, and I understand that you have several tractors that you brought out from New Mexico.
Yeah, I brought 3 of them. I have several others, but I did bring these 3.
I see. And how long have you been, what is your background with
Farm
tractors
and ranch to begin with.
Okay.
Exactly, farm and ranch.
So you've actually had to work with them out in the field.
Exactly.
And how long does that go back in your
Oh,
history?
I got
As a
the,
kid?
I don't know, I got the antique tractor bug about 30 years ago and decided to restore this one here, which my granddaddy bought brand new.
Oh, wow. And it's beautiful.
And he actually got to see it restored before he passed on. So
Oh, I bet he was really pleased about that.
he was very happy. He was really proud.
And it was actually used for farming tools.
Yes. He actually, I have a picture of my dad on it when they first got the tractor.
Wonderful.
And so it's been in the family, and it'll stay there as long as I can keep it there.
Well, I'm sure it got an awful lot of use out on the farm. How much use does it get now?
It's mostly here at the show and pull, and I've taken it to a few other shows. I took it to a gathering of the orange in Pawnee, Oklahoma in 2005.
All right. And the tractor just next door to it on the other side looks like it is very similar. I noticed
it's
cowling over the engine.
It's the very same model, and they're just about the same year. I'm guessing they were probably purchased at the same dealership back in 1949 or 1950. That one came from Gladstone, New Mexico, so there's a good possibility these two came from the same dealership.
Well, I'll say. And so, how much money does it run into to restore?
Restoration of one is it's about as much as you want to spend. I mean, you'll never get your money back out of one if you try to restore one and sell it. Economics just don't work that way.
I see. Now, has anything been done differently to these tractors in order to make them ready to pull, or are they
No,
totally stock?
they're basically the stock tractor just as they came off of the farm. There's been no modification, no engine modifications of any kind.
Okay. All right. Well, I see that this has some wheel weights on the
yes,
rear wheels.
it actually pulls in a different weight class than the other one, and
I see.
that keeps me from having to jump and run so much.
I understand. All right. I notice a lot of tractors have weights on the front.
Oh yes, that's for balancing the tractors in the field for front weights. If they pull in a heavy implement or such, and
yes, sir.
For the pullers, they can utilize all their weight they can.
Yes, sir. All right, and so this is a 4-cylinder engine.
Yes, sir.
Looks like it's overhead valves.
Yes.
And
201.
Burns gasoline, I would presume.
Yes, 201 cubic inch.
Now, tractors are not known, the older tractors anyway, are not known for putting out a lot of horsepower.
Well, they are geared really slow. They don't.
Right.
So that you don't win any racing contests.
Right. Now, are the engines set up so that they have a little bit more torque?
Exactly, I would guess. We could go into a book of explanations on that.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'll leave that for another conversation then. What made this type of tractor good for farming, and then how does it work in dragging competition? What are its advantages or disadvantages?
Really not much advantage one over the other, unless it's a transmission gearing. Your final drive gearing and such as that would be some advantages or disadvantages. If if your motor's matched to your gearing, you do pretty well. If it's like I say, there's a whole new ball game there.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much for stopping and talking with us. We've got one more tractor that's completely different.
This
As a matter
here,
of fact, I think this was probably the most unusual tractor from the pools yesterday.
I see.
Because of this great big old flywheel out here. I imagine it was probably used to as a belt driving device. Maybe
well, the belt drive is on the other side.
Oh, okay.
This here is just the flywheel. Yes, sir. This is.
Thank you very much.
This came from one of my neighbors there at Sedan, and it's a John Deere Model D. I had to look the number up yesterday, and it is a 1935.
Wow.
So, and it had minimal work to it when I got it. Magneto fired. I done a valve job basically. Well, actually, all three of them have magneto. Kind of cleaned it up, and it's one. It will stay in this shape right here. It'll stay in original condition. It probably, unless somebody else gets it or something and decides to repaint it and totally rebuild it.
Yes, sir.
The trend now is basically leave them original.
Yes, sir. Now this is a completely different type of engine.
Yes, this is a still an overhead valve type engine, but it only has 2 cylinders, and this is a 501 cubic inch in 2 cylinders. It's a 675 or 6 3/4 inch bore with a 7-inch stroke.
Wow.
And it's about, I think, 900 or 925 RPM max.
So there's a huge difference right there in the way an engine is built to focus more on torque.
Exactly.
Really than RPMs to build up the power.
Exactly.
And just looking here, I see spark plug.
One on this side, and there'll be one on the other side.
On the other side. And I think in some of the videos I took yesterday, I've got a lot of clear light on some of these 2-cylinder engines. So it looks like, in many cases, there's not any engine at all in the tractor.
I see. Yeah.
Now, on this particular setup, it looks like the engine case itself.
It's part of the
makes up part of the body.
Yeah, it exactly is part of the framework of the whole tractor.
Yes.
It is. Yeah, and this is probably what you'd call a Wheatland style. This would be more of a row crop style tractor. This one here, very limited adjustment on the tread width. This one here, tread width can be adjusted. 15, 20 inches.
Okay.
And this one here has very limited, maybe 4 inches or so, 6, 8, something like that.
Well, what about the transmission?
Oh yeah, this one here.
Gears.
This one here has chain gear final drives, only a 3-speed transmission.
Okay.
And the earlier D's only had a 2-speed transmission.
Wow.
But after a certain serial number in 34 or 35 there, they went to a 3-speed transmission, and I think the 3-speed remained throughout production of the D. It was manufactured from like 1924, 1925, somewhere along in there, all the way to early 50s.
I see. Now I've noticed on some of the pools, these 2-cylinder John Deeres normally started out with some pretty low RPMs and never changed the whole time, really. There might be a little bit more fuel added right at the end, I think.
The governor on the engine is doing its job and keeping the engine RPMs where they should be.
I see. Well, that's very interesting. And also, this has spoked wheels on. Yeah,
that's some. That is some of the earlier tractors. That's the way they were.
Well,
I don't know when they went. The disc change over to the disc wheels was in the late 30s, and a lot of the other older ones were converted from steel to rubber, and they were what they would cut the spokes and weld a rubber tire rim on there and put rubber tires.
Yes.
Because they worked so much better, smoother riding, pulled better.
Oh, I'm sure.
Everything.
Especially if you've got rocky ground to cover.
Oh yeah.
True. And I imagine some of the county maintenance departments really didn't care for tearing up their roads, going from one field to another on some occasions.
Yeah.
And one would think that these spoked wheels would not be as strong as a solid.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a weakness there, so it's as a horse.
Haven't found that in
no, I'm sure as horsepower increased, that's when they found they needed to go to a different style of wheel. So, because these here, I'm sure, eventually the torque and power would eventually pull the spokes out of the wheels.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
All right, folks, coming up on the blue sled on a 1955 John Deere 80, we have Eric with Vogel Brothers. Okay, folks, we have 261.32 for Eric, 261.32 for Eric. All right, folks, once again, I want to say thank you so much for coming out this afternoon for the 25th annual XIT Antique Tractor Show in Poole. Let's give another shout out to some more sponsors. How about State Farm, Stockman Speed Bump, United Supply, Vogel Brothers Custom Farming. How about Wellington State Bank and Western Machine? Once again, thank you, folks, and we'd like to thank all our sponsors. And we hope to see you all here tomorrow also. All right, folks, picking up for the last pull of the day is Brooks Fisher. Brooks Fisher is on a Cockset 1900. Once again, folks, thanks for coming out, and this is our last pull for today. Hope to see you tomorrow. folks, we're ending today, the first day, with a full pool. Hope to see you tomorrow. Come back and see us, please.